Yeah, I'm back out here working on the 62 Chevy again today. It's still sitting under cover, but I've got it up. I've got it up on a jack and a pair of jack stands. My goal today is I want to do an oil change on it. The last time I was here was mid-December, and I had a nice day, and I managed to get the car to run, and I ran it for less than 10 minutes, probably about 5 minutes or so. But I'm just concerned about the condition of the oil, recognizing it sat a long time. It probably had gasoline bleed into it and evaporate. And so I'm going to drain and change it. I'm going to change the filter, and then I'm going to try to run it again with a clean set of oil. Now, normally what you would do is you'd fire it up and you'd warm it up, because they say, hey, you know, it drains better when it's warmed up. But at this point, the engine's drained down. It's been drained. This is middle of January. It's amazing because there's no snow out here anywhere, and it's about almost 50 degrees. Very odd. But the main thing, you know, that you worry about with draining is, you know, is draining it out of the pan, and you can't quite see it, but the drain plug's in the front of the pan, right behind the cross member there. So I'll drain it there. And I'm just going to let it drain for a long time to get as much out of the pan as I possibly can. And then the oil filter is off to the side there. It's the canister style one with the bolt in the bottom right next to the exhaust pipe. I've never changed one of those before, but I guess I'm going to learn how. I don't think it's that tough. I got a fresh filter to go in. And we'll see how we do from there. And then once that happens, I'm going to peel the cover back, fill the oil back up, and light it up, and see what I can do with it. I'm working here on the oil filter for the 62-283, and the challenge that I have is that it came apart on me. And I was trying to figure out how all the parts go back together. And I was very careful trying to keep them in sequence, but I was looking online, and it's very hard to find any pictures of how these assemble. I'm going to leave the filter in the box, but that's the filter. And when I took it apart, this adapter was in the end of the filter, upside down. In other words, the filter goes, take it out, it goes up into the bottom of the engine. And so the way this is what I had, were these parts. And so the way it assembled, or I should say the way I took it apart, was this little washer goes in the bottom. Come on. That little sheet metal washer goes in the bottom. And then this washer goes in on top of it, like so. And then the spring was on top of that. And then this whole assembly, you know, if I was in the bottom of the filter, it would go in the canister like this and have the bolt sticking up through. I've been working to wipe out get all the sludge out of the canister and get these parts cleaned up so that we don't get any crud into the engine. And so the bolt that comes through the bottom has a copper washer on it to seal to the can, and it's got a couple of spots on here. Maybe those were supposed to keep all the parts together in the bottom so that it didn't come apart on me, but I was having trouble because this was stuck to the gasket on the bottom of the block, and like I say, everything came apart on me. So actually, I'm going to install them this way. So it's sheet metal washer, the heavy steel washer, then the spring, and then I'm going to turn this upside down so I can slide things together. Alright, so all the pieces are down in there. It's just I didn't want to assemble them by just dropping them in. They're all assembled, and it's now sitting on top of the spring down there. Okay, so it's together, and I've got the filter is there, and it's going to be spring-loaded up against the top when it's installed. I say up in the block there's an O-ring. and they gave me a new one of those. So I need to go fish the other O-ring off the block, install this one, and then put this back on. Well, there it is. That's the animal, and it's a little challenging getting that O-ring out from around the perimeter and getting the new one in. It's a tight squeeze, but sharp tool to get it out. But it's done, so now I'll put the filter on. Well, so there it is, all bolted back in. And I couldn't find a torque spec on it. It just seemed to be tight enough, but not too tight. I don't know, I'll probably put 10 or 15 foot-pounds on it. I just put a long wrench on it and tightened it till it was firm. I don't think you want to go too far and crush anything, so, or distort the cam. So in any case, that part's done. So I ended up with a Wix filter in there, and I picked 10W30 as being a good choice for this. And it's a synthetic blend. I could have gone all the way to synthetic, I guess, and I figured I'll use the high mileage oil. This car's definitely high mileage, so Valvoline's a good oil. I've used it a ton, so I'm going to fill her with 5 quarts of that. I'm going to get a little 50-50 antifreeze, and I got 5 quarts of oil added. I mixed up some 50-50 antifreeze coolant. And I guess the coolant wasn't down as low as I thought. I added about a quart, and now it's at least above the top of the tubes. So I know there's enough coolant to circulate. Still may be low, but we'll start with that. The accelerator pump may not be perfect, but it is giving fuel. I checked it. And I've got the choke closed right now. So we're going to go see if it'll run. And I do have a fire extinguisher and a fire blanket standing by. Oh, you can see the choke opened up on me. Well, that probably didn't help. I'm going to give it a little bit of assistance. We'll see. Yeah, she's not staying up on the fast idle cam. But it sure quieted down once the oil pressure came up, so let's keep going here. Stays on the fast idle cam a little bit. more coolant. It dropped a little bit. Keep an eye on it there. I also think I think the upper hose has a coolant leak, and it's spraying a little bit over here. That hose is rubbing on the edge of the sharp metal there, and I think it's seeping. I think that probably that thermostat in the choke is bad, because it's 50 degrees out here. When I started that choke should have been tight shut. It sounds to me that it's got a little bit of valve clearance or valve lift or kick. It's gotten better as it's starting to warm up, but I'm going to try to let it get all the way warmed up and see what we end up with here. When an engine sits that long and without moving, so give it some fresh oil here and let it warm up and see how she settles in. Brought my dwell meter along. Let me see if I can get a measurement on that. Should be here. sitting at about 28, 29. The points probably need a slight adjustment to get. I don't know the spec on this car, but it's usually like 30 to 32. But we're not off very far. Quieted down now that it's warmed up. See if we can pop it down to slow idle. Yeah, that's a whole lot better. And we are having coolant kind of blowing from that upper hose. That's not bad. And when I slowed it down a little, I don't have the vacuum advance off. The dwell's set at about 29. It's not bad, it should just be maybe a little tighter, but it sounds like something on the fan shroud is rattling now. But otherwise, it sounds pretty very quiet now. It sounds in really nice with fresh oil and all. And my camera's going to run out of battery in a moment, so I'll shut it down and I'll be back. I'm going to start it back up and I'm going to adjust the dwell. These old Delco distributors are kind of cool because they've got a little window on the front. You can put an Allen wrench into the breaker points and then adjust them. And there also used to be a rule that my dad used to use, and I've forgotten it because it's been so many years, but it was like you could turn them like a half a turn. You'd turn it until it misfired and back it out like a half a turn. And when that happened, you were in good shape, and the dwell would be right. And it was based on the pitch of the screw on the set of breaker points. But Let me fire it up here in just a moment. Pretty darn close. I'd say the idle speed's just a little bit low. Well, I put a piece of paper towel under there to try to slow the leak down. Just that didn't work so well. Gotta probably turn the idle speed screw a bit. But she's sitting right about 30-31, that's pretty good. It's running pretty nice. Valve train's quieted down nicely. The radiator warmed up. Not bad, I'm happy. Can't run very long without getting a new hose on here. Not bad for being parked 35 years. Fuel pump. Cleaned out the float bowl on the carburetor for good measure. Poured a coolant. Set of breaker points and condenser. And she's a-running. Well, and I borrowed a battery from the Cadillac. That's not the one that belongs in here, but it did the job with a set of adapters. In the beginning, I was a little worried with the valve train noise, but you know, once you get it warmed up and you get some clean oil in it, it's amazing what that'll do for you. Running smooth. She's not shaking. There doesn't sound like any misfire. I I was listening at the back. Take this off and go from there. See if the battery will hold out long enough. Well, that's pretty darn nice. And when I took it apart, you know, the spark plugs looked like they needed to be replaced. If I was going further, you know, probably plugs and wires and cap and rotor and the whole thing. But with all the stuff being ancient, can't really complain. Hey, so right now I'm pretty happy with the way this thing's running. For, you know, I've been having, I mean, it's running now probably 20 minutes here, and you know, she's just ticking along real nice, and the fresh oil has got the valve train quieted down, and boy, I think that's a success. Now, I don't think I'm going to take this car on to be a restoration project. I've got some other ones I'm already working on, so I'll probably find somebody else who wants to do this one and sell it to them. But knowing that it runs, knowing how it runs, you know, how well it runs right now, it's a whole lot better than saying, hey, I got a car out here on the driveway with a dead engine and I don't know if it'll run. So right now, see, she seems to be quite happy, and I haven't checked out all of the other systems, but I've, you know, it's a manual transmission, and it doesn't have usable license plates on it, so I can't take it out and drive it and see how the clutch is or anything. And I guess I have to say I don't know how the brakes are. But I think they need help. I once tried it, and the brake pedal was solid in, it didn't move at all. And I pushed on it a little bit harder, and something let go, and she stroked down to the floor. And I suspect the master cylinder's probably in trouble. But we'll have to see. So whenever I try to move it, we'll have to be extra careful, because it might roll. But anyway, that's what it takes to get one of these old dogs running, if you're fortunate. If you're not fortunate, it's like my 85 Camaro, where it was rusted solid and there was no hope. But this one, you know, the cylinders were in pretty good shape. We got her lubricated. You know, I put fogging oil in the cylinders and rolled it over. Got things cleaned up, put back together, new ignition, new fuel pump, and the fuel tank is bypassed right now. I'm running fuel right out of a 1.5 gallon can for the moment, because the fuel gauge is pegged high. I expect it needs a new sending unit for the gauge, and I don't know. The tank may need to be cleaned out. So rather than throwing some gas in it to see what happens, I'm just going to leave it like it is. And you know, if I was going further, I'd pull the tank and inspect it before I put any fuel in it. Right now, I think it's dry as a bone, and so it'd be a lot easier to work on. But anyway, that's my project for today. Thank you all for watching, and that's all for now.